The next big flashy new L1, L2 style chain play just launched today, and we're talking about Monad. But should you be longing, shorting? What should your strategy be? Because really, historically, none of these styles of projects, a brand new shiny blockchain, has done well long term unless they are one of the literal main characters of the blockchain scene. So we're going to go over, is this going to follow the trajectory of stuff like Ethereum, Solana, or are we looking at some disaster scenarios in the future with users dropping off now that the airdrop has occurred? So we're going to go over that and more, and where I'm going to position myself on this token. So without further ado, let's jump into it. And let's just jump right into it. We won't make this one a long video, more so just a quick and precise idea of where I'm looking to trade this new token. But today the market's bouncing a little bit, which we'd love to see. If you've been scooping up some altcoins or even Bitcoin at some of these local lows, I do think it could be a nice little week with, a lot of people trading the market, some people off of work, etc. I think it could be a good week for the markets and for volume in particular, maybe for a little bit of a Bitcoin bounce. But before we get started, guys, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel for more. Every single week here on In the Game, we have you covered with videos like this to help you have an edge in the market. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors. And in today's video, we will be looking at Gravity. Gravity is the premier perps dex on ZK Sync. First of all, ZK Sync technology I think is so slept on, but number two is that I think Gravity airdrop farmers, people who get in here and trade on their platform, I think it's going to yield very good results considering the fact that everyone is so focused on Hyperliquids, Asters, Lighter, etc. I think that this airdrop, especially less diluted than these other competitors, I think will be very good. So we'll be looking at charts today on Gravity. You can sign up down below in the link in the description. But, like I said, the market is giving us a little bit of a bounce today, which is fantastic to see. If we were to filter on the daily chart, you can see Monad is performing well off TGE, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Our sponsors at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 up 15% today, Playable Games up 12%. We see Sui bouncing 11%. Still pretty depressing altcoin prices across the board, but nonetheless, it is good to see a little bit of green across the market. But that's not what we're here to talk about, the broader markets today. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can check out yesterday's video. But today, we did get a big VC money, absolutely huge anticipated project go live, and that is Monad. And I think Monad, we've been waiting on this for almost what feels like a couple of years at this point in time. People farmed the airdrop. The airdrop is live today, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. If you qualified for it on how to claim your airdrop, we saw this chart. It was trading pre-TGE for quite a while. It was nothing but down, and then, of course, today the market gives us a little bit of green, and we do see the Monad chart printing a couple of consecutive hourly green candles here. Ever since this thing launched this morning, we are looking at, from the bottom, it's up about 46%. So anyone who longed that alongside a market pump, I think that, that's a pretty good trade. But looking at the long term, what should be your expectations when looking to trade something like a Monad? So first and foremost, if you did qualify for the airdrop, head over to app.monad.xyz, and it should already be in your wallet. So you'll just go over to the swap page, and you will literally check out all of your tokens there in your wallet at that point in time. So it's pretty simple. Just head over to swap. You can swap on any of these given platforms, and you'll be able to see your allocation from Monad. And we did have people longing. A good friend of mine, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, saying that it feels underwhelming where they launched at, and he said he made more longing than he did from his airdrop. Coinbase did list this. Coinbase did the ICO. So they got a lot of the big metrics out of the way early. And I think that could also longer term be a little bit of a detriment to a project like this. So let's go into my thesis. And especially if the market cools off, I think this one could be a really tough sell to the upside. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. Really, I think that on TGE day, it goes the opposite way than most people think. I think that people assume airdrop sell pressure, there's no reason this token should go up. But then we also see the fact that Number one, the market pumped on the same day that they launched. After all of that short pressure, of course, it's going to have a little bit of relief to the upside. But let's just look at a metrics perspective, right? We see Monad, their mainnet went live literally today. So we can't look at huge historical data here. But I know for the most part, most people involved with this project were simply just farming the airdrop, looking to get free money. And that's what I did, right? All I did for the Monad, I don't care to use the Monad chain whatsoever. For me, it was just trying to get as much of an airdrop allocation as possible, which the airdrop itself was also underwhelming for most people. But when we look here, stablecoin market cap at 16.12, the total value locked in DeFi is 32.53 million, and the Mon token market cap is 336 million at this point in time. Unfortunately, when I look across the Monad chain, for me, there's just nothing that I would care to mess around with beyond TGE, which leads to the question of what could we look at in comparison to this token? So let's go over to analytics and let's do a little bit of back testing on similar chain launches like a Monad. 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain, for example. When this thing launched, a lot of people were excited about 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain. First and foremost, I've never used 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain. That is just something I have never once touched in my entire life. We'll see if this chart will go ahead and load here. But regardless, we can look at the metrics here on 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain. When people really started farming this thing and mainnet went live after the testnet, it got up to that $3 billion mark as far as the TVL. But let's see, why is this not loading here? We'll get 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain up, and if not, we'll pull it up somewhere else. Here we go. So we see 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain. When this TGE'd, it was at $11.40 on the first wick, as we can see here. This was on February 5th. This thing is down 90% all time because who is going to use 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain after TGE? And we literally see that here for like a month after. Yeah, it had some liveliness to it. And if we look at the monthly chart over here on 𝗏𝗏𝗏chain, we actually see a pump around this time period from $5.70 to about $8. So especially if we see a market bounce back, I wouldn't be shorting Monad immediately. But there's no reason for me to think that the on-chain activity is sustainable enough to hold up this current valuation for something like Monad. Another one we can take a look at here is Linea. So Linea, look at the spike when people see airdrop announcement. Boom, people start farming this chain all the way up. Linea goes live, and ever since Linea's gone live, nobody wants to trade it. And let's just go look at the dates on Linea. We see here Linea. Let's just go to the all chart. This thing's down 65% all time. And we can see here from that time period, let's see the peak of on-chain activity was at this date here, September 22nd. So we go look at the chart here, and that was the all-time high of the token. You're kind of seeing a correlating pattern here. We can go back further in history and we can see stuff like 𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is really from the last cycle, but you can see the on-chain activity. There's nothing happening here, which if we were to go look at the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 chart, we can actually see on the all-time chart, ever since that time period, other than this one spike, and if we go look at the on-chain data at the same exact time period around December 2023 and here around December 2023, other than that, this thing has been literally down only, and from its inception at $12 is down 40%. And then this one's going to be painful for a lot of 2021 people, although I don't think people on this channel really ever held this token. I know we delved in DeFi kingdoms back in the day, but man, this one's brutal. Harmony One, this one was a really hyped chain, raised a ton of money back in the day. I mean, their TVL at one point was at a couple $1 billion because of DeFi kingdoms, and now their TVL is a singular million, if not today, $670,000 total value locked on this blockchain, which is absolutely incredibly bad if you take a look at it in perspective. And all time from the inception at 2 cents, It is down 80% from all-time highs. This thing is down 99.9%. So you're seeing a trend here. All of these big flashy blockchain launches, they have their moment, right? And I think you're going to see Monad shine in the first few weeks, maybe month, especially if the market does bounce back. And if it takes Monad even higher than where we're at today, I will be looking for a short. I don't think that there's really any reason for this token to continue its upside, especially considering the fact, let's go back to Monad here, Monad, and let's just take a look at where this thing is also trading already. So it's one thing if they had a few things in the pipeline, right? They did an ICO with Coinbase. Coinbase is already listed. They have Bybit, BitGet, Gate, KuCoin, Mexi, Crypto.com, Kraken. You can continue going down the list here. They're on Orca, Meteora, etc. Really, right now, the one thing that's not showing is Binance. You know Binance will likely list this unless it is a Coinbase exclusive because they hosted the ICO. I don't know the details on that part specifically. What I can tell you is I see zero reason for this to hold up, just like all these other blockchains over the course of time. And we can do even further digging here. Let's look at funding. Berachain raised a total of $252 million over the course of 4 funding rounds. Let's go look at the current market cap. I don't think this is going to be pretty. The unlocked market, the circulating market cap currently, the full market cap currently is 140, and the FDV is 543. This one's looking pretty brutal. For the fact that they raised over $200 million, that's not great. Let's just take a look at, we will go with Monad here. Monad has raised a total of $269 million in its recent public sale. I don't know. To me, it just screams another VC unused ghost chain down the line. Like, everyone talked about Berachain as this next big thing. It didn't pan out. I think we're going to see the same thing with Monad. I don't think any reason why crypto Twitter, the crypto world, is going to flock to using this long term. And as much as you could say they have money, they might pump the chart, metrics don't lie. And all of these chains, when they peak out, so does the token. I will be watching on-chain activity very closely because, like I said, this just happened today. Long term, pardon me, I am looking to short this token. I think it will be an absolutely easy short, but I want to see the metrics. If they start climbing, or if it's almost an immediate decline, you could probably go ahead and put your shorts in at that point in time. But just looking at other examples, this cycle from Berachain and Linea and their tokens performance, looking at longer term from Metis, Harmony, etc. There's plenty of examples to show that these side chains have no use case in crypto, and they're really just a bunch of, it's a ghost chain, I think, long term. So that's what I'm looking at. Short term upside aside, I'm not putting in my short until we do see the on-chain metrics maybe hit a little bit of a peak. I will be watching this to a T as far as this goes. I have not opened a short yet because I want to see some more data here, because these data, the metrics here on these chains don't lie. And I think long term, a short on Metis or on Monad will be an absolute printer for anyone who gets involved. But I have to throw it out there. I am not a financial advisor, okay? They could use $200 million to pump this token. I am not sure. I just don't know where that's going to come from long term, because I just don't see a use case for this blockchain. And this is not FUD. That's just my strategy, and I don't think you can consider it FUD because we're literally looking at metrics from some of the most hyped launches. We'll do one more here. How much money did Linea raise? This is probably going to be disgusting because they are the ones associated closely with MetaMask. Oh, $725 million. Wow. So they raised $725 million. And their token is currently worth $785 million. That is just sad. So look, I think it's going to follow a similar trajectory. Like I said, this is not FUD. This is just looking at the data, looking at competitors, and why would this be any different? So long term, I'm looking for a short based off the on-chain analytics, and I'll update you guys on this when I officially do enter a short position on Monad. So guys, like the video, subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. As always, play well, my friends, trade responsibly, and of course, stay bullish, my friends.